CEO, I need you. What's going on, fam? What's going on, fam? How y'all feeling this morning? Come on in the room, tap those hearts. Let me know you can hear me. Tap those hearts. Tap those hearts. All right, as you can see from the title of this broadcast, well, before I get into all of that, how are we feeling today, tribe? How y'all feeling? Thank you to all of my new supporters on the different live platforms. I'm so excited, especially for YouTube finally getting over 1K. Like, that was tough getting over 1K, but we did it, tribe. Like, thank y'all for, you know, keeping me company over here in my little tiny corner of the internet. Okay? So come on in the room. Today we are talking about October 31st, Halloween. Now, every time the holidays come up, I like to research the holidays since I have transitioned to being Niji, indigenous to this land. I like to research what I was celebrating before. So today we're going to dig into Halloween and see what it's all about. I hope y'all ready to learn on this lovely, lovely Sunday. Drop your questions in the chat. This is a no judgment zone. All love, positive vibes. You know, all of that good juicy stuff. So come on in the room. We're going to get started in just a second. So we're going to be using AI because we've been on we in our AI era. It's the AI era. If you don't know, now you know. So far, we have done demos on Notion, Perplexity, Claude, of course, ChatGPT. Okay. And today we're going to be using chat again. Grand Rising from Albuquerque. What's going on, Albuquerque in the house? I hope you're doing well. But we finna dig in and see what Halloween is all about. I hope y'all feeling good, feeling great. If you are watching on Twitch, you can use the commands. I think you can even use them on YouTube and Kick. If you want to know the topic, exclamation topic. Boom, there you go. Unmasking Halloween. So come on in, let's chill, let's vibe. Let's get into Halloween. Let's see what the AI tell us. Now, when I research with AI, I'm still in control. I don't let it tell me, you know, what to do. Thank you for following on Kick Aduni Expert 7. So let's dive in, y'all. Let's see what Halloween is all about. So welcome to our chill research stream. I'm your host, Dr. Chief the Sunflower, aka Dr. Sean, the motivational dentist, dreamer, and truth seeker. Today we're going to explore what Halloween really means, from its ancient roots to its modern mask. So you can light you some candles if you're feeling a little spooky. I'm sipping on some pumpkin coffee just to set the mood. And we're going to get into it. Now, as a dentist, two reasons I don't really celebrate Halloween, because now, modernized, it's all about candy. And you know, candy causes cavities. And I'm not really a big fan of candy because it really causes cavities. It's straight sugar, so you have to make sure you're brushing and flossing. So we just got to get that little piece in there. before we dive into Halloween. And the other reason is because I realized that I'm indigenous to America, the Mississippians, the mound builders, the copper tone, the Mary Indians, and our history has just been hidden and, you know, tossed around like it was nothing until we grab hold of it now and we like, okay, clock it. Okay. Yeah, clock it. You got to take control of your own narrative. Period. So when it comes to Halloween, we have to do the same thing and understand what we are representing. I mean, I grew up celebrating Halloween. I can't even hold you. One of my grandmas celebrated. The other one was deeply Christian. But the one who wasn't deeply Christian at the time, she made sure we went trick or treating, big bag, trash bags full of candies. This was back in the maybe 90s. We didn't have to worry about stuff like being in the candy. Like now, I would be kind of scared. Then it just was a different. I don't know. I don't know. That's just growing up in the 90s in Tallahassee as a little kid, trick or treating. We didn't see nothing wrong with it. But today we're gonna dig into some research and see what's going on. So summarize. Our goal today is to summarize the pre-Christian origins of Halloween, aka Samhain. I hope I'm saying that right. Celtic New Year and the spiritual meaning behind the veil between the worlds. Okay, so Samhain is called Samhain, Samhain, pronounced Samhain. It's a festival marking the end of harvest and the start of darker half of the year. All right. So I don't really know how I want to research this. I don't know if I want to turn the camera around to the chat so you can kind of see what chat is saying, or I'm just gonna chill and tell y'all what it's saying. Maybe that might be easier. Good day. How you feeling? I gotta remember to check my chat over here on TikTok. I never leave my TikTok family out. That's why I go live on TikTok and other places. Grand Rising. Sue, have a great morning, night, number peace, positivity, and prosperity. Much love. Period. Thank you for the roses, Miss 1979. I appreciate it. All right, so let's dive in. I don't know what kind of music I just turned on, but we're gonna turn this music off and let's see what Halloween is all about. I mean, I did some research into Christmas, Thanksgiving, and that was pretty scary. I can't even hold you. So with Halloween, so let's ask the chat, what is the origin of Halloween? When I do my research on like a chat GPT or Claude or any of the AI sources, you're just gonna ask it what's really on your mind. Like, hey, what's on your mind? And this is something that's on my mind because it's the week of this holiday. We boycotting the holidays. Well, at least I am. I've been boycotting them because it's just a waste of money and, it's colonized themes, I would say. So we're going to dig into the roots and lay it out straight, no sugarcoating. Because a lot of people like to sugarcoat when they talk about this stuff, but we have to tell it how it is. Like, I recently got banned off of Facebook Live because maybe I was telling the truth too much. I don't know, but Facebook is a colonized app, so whatever. We just keep it moving. All right. So the ancient Celtic roots, Samhain. That was what Halloween was called. Samhain. Samhain. Get your notebook if you want to take some notes on, because I don't have it like in a presentation today. Because it just popped up like, oh, it's Halloween. Let's talk about it. Let's see what AI gonna tell us. Now we gotta be careful reading AI because you're in control. So let's keep going. So it was celebrated by Celtic-speaking peoples in what is now Ireland, Scotland, and part of the United Kingdom around October 31st to November 1st. And that is from Wikipedia and two other sources. So basically, Halloween has ancient Celtic roots. It's called Samhain, celebrated by Celtic-speaking people in what was now called Ireland, Scotland, and the United Kingdom. Now, these somehow really are the same nations that colonize a lot of the world. Scotland, Ireland, and the United Kingdom. How ironic. It's marked by the end of the harvest season and the beginning of the darker half of the year, the winter. That's basically harvest season, the fall time. During Samhain, the Celts believed the boundary between the living world and the world of the dead and the spirits became thin, allowing spirits to roam and come closer. Wait a minute. Oh, we hit 1K on TikTok. We hit our goal. I've been trying to hit that goal for a long time, y'all. That is crazy. The Celtics. So now we know that Halloween is rooted in Celtic history from Ireland, Scotland, and part of the United Kingdom. And here we are celebrating it every year in America. And we think it's about candy and costumes. But it's really about celebrating the split between the harvest season and the darker part of the year, winter. And in their culture, they believe that it was some kind of way when the boundary of the living world and the world of the dead and spirits became thin. So they believe it a little bit more deeper than what you believe when you celebrate it over here, because it's always tainted down. It's a little watered down when it gets to America, because you don't really know what you're celebrating. It said the rituals included big communal bonfires, offerings of crops, food, wearing disguises and animal skin to either ward off or confuse spirits, and using smoke and fire as protective or cleansing force. That is really like too much for me. Like, what? Okay. Christian influence and evolution. It says, as Christianity spread, the church sought to integrate or supplant pagan festivals. So you'll find that a lot of the holidays were planted into the Niji culture, the American Indian, the indigenous copper tone, people who now go by black because of reclassification thanks to Walter Plecker and vital statistics and them researching the indigenous people when they pulled up here on the land and started taking census bureaus and asking people who they are, and they did research on the inhabitants. So they brought those holidays here with Christianity. Now, it's a Sunday, but we're going to tell the truth. All right. Thank you for being the number one heart pumper, Miss 1979. All right. So, I mean, this is the things that I found out every time I start to research the holidays. So it says, as Christianity spread, the church sought to integrate and supplant pagan festivals. I hope y'all heard that. So a lot of people think we was already Christians. No, but Christianity was forced on indigenous people. The Bible was forced. It was either become a Christian or, become a enslaved person, which they just did anyways. And this was trickling down from direct demands from the doctrine of discovery, from the Pope, from the papal bull saying, hey, the land is ours if they're not Christians. So all the Christianity, the pagan holidays, all stem kind of from the same kind of system, from colonization, not from spirituality, not from truth. I learned last Sunday that I saw a video that the church in America funded slavery. And that really kind of fucked me up a little bit. I was like, what the hell? It just get deeper and deeper. The more we dig, my Niji, I know the truth hurts, but the truth shall be told. because this is the only way that we can heal as a people, if we know the truth and not really sugarcoat it, and know where the holidays come from, where we invest in our time and energy and our money, and how we have been, tricked out of our spot, tricked out of our greatness, tricked out of living our best life, and trading our time for money, and not believing in ourselves and following our goals. And I know this because I come from hood to hooded, and I really mean that shit. Okay? So it said in the 8th century, the 700s, I think that's right. I really had to learn how to read the centuries, but I think the 18th century is the 700s. For example, Pope Gregory III made November 1st a day to honor all saints. I heard of that, All Saints Day. That came from the Pope. And the Pope back then, they were very, very divested into like slave culture. In Scotland and Ireland, they were into that type of stuff. The night before All Saints holiday, which they made November 1st, Pope Gregory III, this was in the 700s. Back then, when they restarted the time, because the world is millions of years old, how we get to 2000, somebody playing around. I'm just so happy that we discovering all this stuff. So when it comes to these holidays, you gotta just sit down for a second and understand what you're getting yourself into, because it's a little deeper than you think. It's a little deeper than you think. Okay? So the night before November 1st, All Saints Day, commissioned by Pope Gregory III, that night became known as All Hallows Eve. Woo, which turned into, guess what? Halloween. I did not know that. Didn't know that. Didn't know that. I really didn't know that. Thank you for following Ashok Prasad on Kick. That is pretty crazy. So, if you just joined, we doing some research on Halloween, trying to figure out where it came from. You can put questions in the chat. We just researching what the world is celebrating. Well, I don't really celebrate it anymore, but I like to research what I used to celebrate now that I am out of the matrix. Every day I want to learn something new and elevate my thinking so that I can be comfortable and not feel like, a lot of people have the fear of missing out. I don't feel like I'm missing out on nothing when I detach from the matrix and colonization, because colonization started on something evil. The roots are evil, and we have to just put an end to it. Even the holidays are just like, what? Let's continue on, okay? Because, let's carry on. So, it says that November 1st was All Saints holiday, and that was commissioned by Pope Gregory III in the 700s or the 18th century. The night before, All Saints Day became known as All Hallows Eve. Now, I used to watch Halloween movies like, what's the movie? Hocus Pocus. And I think they mentioned something about All Hallows Eve and witchcraft. See, the popes, King James, the one who had commissioned the Bible in the 1600s, all of these people, they believe in witchcraft. They believed in demonology and the spiritual world. That's why Halloween to them is a little bit deeper. It's about playing with the spirits and, stuff like that. It don't really got nothing to do with indigenous people, because we didn't really celebrate that, So Halloween, All Hallows Eve, the pairing of pagan and Christian rituals created a hybrid. What the hell? The pairing of pagan and Christian rituals? Wait a minute. So the Pope created November 1st to honor All Saints Day. The night before became known as Halloween, All Hallows Eve. And, and this was as Christianity spread. The church wanted to integrate and supplant pagan festivals. That is so confusing that this is coming from the church. This is what we always find when we go dig up into holidays. Some kind of way it get a little confusing. So pairing of the pagan and Christian rituals create a hybrid. Traditions of honoring the dead, remembering ancestors, vigilance for spirits all merge with new religious observance. That is confusing. As centuries passed, especially when traditions migrated, for example, with Irish and Scottish immigrants to North America, many of the old rituals evolved into what we now know as Halloween. Costuming, masquerading, trick-or-treating, jack-o'-lanterns, and haunted fun. So basically this came from Irish and Scottish immigrants because they are the ones who came from Samhain, which is the holiday marked by the beginning of the harvest season and the darker season and the boundary between the living and the dead, and All Saints Day and All Hallows Eve. So none of this stuff have nothing to do with me is what I'm discovering. I'm not Irish and I'm not Scottish and I'm not an immigrant. So why was I celebrating Halloween? Just because it's around me, just because it's propaganda, just because it's all in the stores, it's in the Burger King, it's everywhere, it's all on the TV. So you're like, oh, you want to dress up now and look fun, but it go a little deeper than that. And when we trying to break generational curses, we gotta even do it with the holiday. I'm so happy to see people on TikTok like, we not celebrating Christmas. I know it's because of the shutdown and because of the issue going on with the government and SNAP, but it should be so much bigger than that, because why you need one day to get together with family? Why do you need one day when everybody, y'all, okay, we're allowed to get together? It's just like, what? Doesn't make any sense. So basically, Irish and Scottish beginnings. That's where Halloween kind of came from. It says, for instance, in Ireland and Scotland, people carve turnips as lanterns to ward off spirits. So they're carving turnips as lanterns to ward off the spirits. So when you actually carving pumpkins, you basically kind of like symbolizing warding off spirits. It says when they came to America, pumpkins, which are native to America, that means they are indigenous too. Clock that T. And large replaced turnips in the carving tradition. Wow. Why this matters. This story is more than fun and candy. It is about transition, harvest, winter, life, death, boundary between living and dead, seen and unseen, and community ritual coming together, facing fears, honoring ancestors. So basically, it's just commercialized now. Basically. Now the Celtics and the Scots. So let's ask, which countries did the Irish and the Scottish colonize? And are any of the presidents of the United States from these areas? And also, I want to know, what else do I want to know? I want to know, when did Halloween become a holiday in Turtle Island, aka Tamari, aka America? We're gonna be petty. Let's be petty. Alright. So we researching using the AI. Let's see what it's gonna say. Put in the lights inside. My fan was talking about this yesterday. We fall for their mess and take more of our money. Absolutely, it's Tika B. I heard it came from the skulls of our people. Wow. Sacrifice. Wow. A lot of holidays are sins. All of them are actually cultivated in evil, colonized uh, beginnings, we could say. It says, Dr. Sean, here are some clear, no fluff answers to your questions, followed by contextual reality that we can use. So, which countries did the Irish and the Scottish colonize? Because these are the people who celebrate Halloween and spiritual like stuff. So when they were unaliving people, they were still celebrating this because this holiday came from the 700s. So please understand this. These people are pretty evil. And I like to go and dig a little bit deeper. So when you still like, because I have family members who will be like, I don't celebrate it for that. Well, that's what it means. Regardless of what you think you celebrating it for, you're doing the same thing. And even if you ain't, you still giving yourself cavities. So either way, let it go. Save your money. Invest your money. So which countries did the Irish and the Scottish colonize? The story of Irish colonization is complex. Though commonly viewed as victims of colonization by the English and the British, there were cases of Irish involvement in colonial enterprises. For example, the Irish diaspora settled in places like Canada, the Caribbean, Australia, and Argentina. As for the Scots, and Scots, Irish, and Ulster Scots, many Scots immigrated and settled in North America, the Caribbean, Australia. They may not have each been colonizers in the sense of establishing empires, but Scottish settlers played roles in British colonial ventures. One specific example, Irish people as indentured servants were transported to Barbados and other Caribbean colonies under the British rule. So they arrived over here as basically Slavs, aka slaves, aka indentured servants. In some kind of way, I think Trump might be Scottish descent, I think. Another, the plantation of Ulster, 1609, involved Scottish and English Protestant settlers colonizing land in Ulster, Northern Ireland, that had been Celtic Irish land. Okay? I said, are any of the U.S. presidents from these areas? Yes, it says absolutely. Wow. Not yes, absolutely. There are many U.S. presidents with Irish heritage. For example, Andrew Jackson. Oh, I can't stand Andrew Jackson. He's probably one of my most, if you can actually say the word, hate people that I actually hate. And he's on the money. He was the governor of Florida. He started so many wars. He stole so much land. Like, he just did the worst. And he is Irish heritage. There's no way I want to celebrate a holiday the same as him. And he was the 7th president, had parents from Antrim in Ireland. There are many with Scottish and Irish Ulster Scots ancestry. For example, one lists James Knox Polk, James Buchanan, Ulysses S. Grant, and many more. It said one article states at least 33 of the 46 presidents have Scottish or Scots-Irish ancestry. So yes, Irish-Scottish heritage is a very strong footprint in the U.S. presidential history. When did Halloween become a holiday in Turtle Island, aka America? That's another question we want to know. It says, first, it's good to clarify that when we say holiday, we don't mean it became a federal holiday. It did not. So it's not a federal holiday? I'm so confused. However, Halloween is a culturally celebrated event in America, took shape in the 19th century, which means the 1800s. Okay? The 1800s. Especially after a large number of Irish and Scottish immigrants brought traditions over. So when you celebrate Halloween, you're celebrating an Irish and Scottish tradition. Please know that. So don't waste your money on the Irish and Scottish tradition if you're not Irish and Scottish and believe in spiritual worlds crossing over. According to one source, in the late 1800s, America moved to mold Halloween into a holiday of community and neighborly get togethers, rather than only pranks and witchcraft. So in the late 1800s, nearing the 1900s, is when they said, okay, you know what? We can make some money off of this and make it profitable. Basically. That's what it has turned into now. Every month is a holiday to get your money. Every month is a holiday to keep you stuck in the hood and not living your best life and investing and trying to figure out a way out of the matrix. You know, to keep you tied to holidays that you don't even know, tied to evil stuff from the Pope. And you don't want nothing to do with the Pope. The Pope is the one, the popes from then are the one who stole our land. We don't want nothing to do with them. Good morning. Haho's mother was a Scottish immigrant. Irish and Scottish were not considered white back then because they are not Nordic. Good morning. Term hillbilly refers to the Scots who lived in the hills of North Carolina. What? Quantum stereo radio. What? So the Beverly Hillbillies is based on, well, you said in North Carolina. I didn't know that. So those were the actual indentured servants. So we wondering who was on the boats coming over here as indentured servants. It was really these people, and now we actually celebrating they indentured servants holiday. Make this make any type of sense? We celebrating a hillbilly holiday. Clock that tea. I gotta take a sip, cause what? I don't. But pumpkins are indigenous to our land, though, so that's our but we just supposed to eat it, not really put faces in it and try to connect with spirits and stuff. But I bet a lot of people didn't know that is what that means, you know. So as someone, okay, hold on, where were we? When did Halloween become a holiday? All right, it says, so if we pick a broad time frame, the holiday-like observance of October 31st began to become widespread in the U.S. late 1800s, early 1900s, though traditions existed earlier in immigrant communities. Immigrant communities. We acting like immigrants, y'all. This is why we can't celebrate this stuff. It lets people know, hey, you basically celebrate immigrant stuff because you're an immigrant. You may not really be an immigrant because you don't know who you are, and if you do know who you are, there's no way you should be celebrating Halloween. I know it feels like a fun holiday, but it's just really not for us, man. We gotta really not celebrate it. You know? What other questions would we ask? Somebody said hillbilly refers to Scots who live in the North Carolina. I want to know, what is Donald Trump ancestry? Because I thought he was like Scottish or something. Donald Trump. Yes, Scottish and German. So Donald Trump, the current president, mother is Scottish heritage. His father, German heritage. Some kind of way he is leading our land. And it says on his mother's side, Mary Ann MacLeod Trump was born in the village of Tong, Isle of Lewis, in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. She immigrated to the U.S. in the 1930s and became a naturalized citizen in 1942. how can he become president? I'm so confused by, this country. You know. So what else would I want to know about Halloween? Because we realized where it came from, who brought it over here, um, and that it don't really mean much. I want to know how much does Halloween make in profit each year in the United States? I'm just thinking of random questions now. It says, Dr. Sean, you're stepping into some real world numbers, and yes, they're impressive. Here's what the data shows about how much revenue Halloween generates in the United States, and how you can use that in your entrepreneurship practice slash content strategy. According to the, I don't want to use it for that reason. I just want to know. According to the National Retail Federation, the NRF, Halloween spending in the United States was expected to reach $12.2 billion, and that was in 2023. For 2024, it's around $11.6 billion. For 2025, which is this year, is even higher, $13.1 billion, just for one day. We don't want no parts of that. Save your money. Invest it in a high yield savings account, stock market, Breaking down the categories. Candy spending alone is projected to be around $3.3 billion. Costume and decoration spending are similarly in the multi-billion-dollar range. That is really crazy. So it is really, really big business. I want to know, when did candy become a part of the tradition? Because why do we have candy like on Halloween? Dr. Sean, here's the real story of when candy became part of Halloween in the United States and how you can unpack it. Timeline of candy and Halloween. The act of going door to door and guising goes back centuries in Scotland and Ireland. What? Children would dress up, sing, recite verses, and receive food or treats, fruit, nuts, coins in exchange. Early in America, children often received homemade gifts, cookies, cakes, fruit, rather than mass-produced candy. The shift towards candy as the major treat happened post-World War II. Candy manufacturers began promoting individually wrapped sweets for Halloween in the 1950s. By the 1970s, candy had become the standard treat for Halloween trick-or-treating in the United States. So candy wasn't even always a thing. That's just became a thing since they got over here and we became participants in the immigrant holiday and celebrating the Scottish and Irish holiday. Now they don't do what they used to do with the cookies and the cakes and the fruits. Now it's mass production of candy, aka cavities, okay, for Halloween. It's not even since the 50s and 70s that this has been this way. So while Halloween is an ancient tradition for the Scottish and the Irish people, candy produced in mass amounts is relatively new in the 20th century. That is pretty interesting. That is very, very interesting. Now, the chat is saying, do you want me to pull up some early candy advertising examples? What in the world? Now, this is an old candy ad. Uh-oh. This is an old candy ad. That is crazy. Let's see if I can pull it up for my YouTube. That is freaking crazy, y'all. So we learned a lot about Halloween, and you know, now y'all can see this on YouTube and Twitch, the candy ad. So this is one. Let's go to another one. Oh, this is another one from Milky Way. Hey, kitty, kitty. Here go another one, y'all. It says, hey, kitty, kitty. These are antique Halloween commercials that started to be sent around and marketed in the 1970s, 60s. It went away from the apples. You see, they have the apples at the top. You got this little cat here, trick or treat, and candy. Let's go to another one. Here go another one. It says, you mean I can have... Hold on. It said, you mean I can have... I can't see what it says. Of each. Something of each. I can't see it. Treat them to delicious just for Halloween candies. Fresh from Brock's. So you can see where it came from. These early ads. Oh, there it goes. So you mean I can have some of each? So that's where Halloween came from, guys. That's where it came from. So it says the 1950s candy companies recognized Halloween as... Uh-oh. The 1950s candy companies recognized Halloween as an opportunity. According to market research, the 1950s candy companies began significantly promoting their products for Halloween. For example, ads from the mid-1950s show sweets like Milky Way bar being positioned with trick-or-treat themes. Okay? So we just looked at some of those ads to see how marketing, propaganda, all of these different things. You go in the store, you know, they started marketing Halloween in the summertime. So you are already thinking about spending your money for this Halloween. And you don't even know why. You just want to participate. You feel like you're going to miss out on something. You aren't missing out on anything. Okay? Packaging innovation played a big role. Before this era, many treats were homemade, unwrapped, and simple nuts and fruit. But now it turned into candy, cavities. By the 1950s and into the 1960s, the industry shifted to smaller, individually wrapped bars, which is what we have now. Alright? So, that is crazy. Now, do we have any other questions about Halloween, guys? Did anybody put any questions in the chat? No questions. Oh, what did I send? An invite. Hold on. Why did I do that? I don't know what I did. I did something. Alright, so I think we asked all the questions about Halloween. We learned a lot on this Sunday of why we should not celebrate it. Now, to tie this all up, I'm going to just talk about an article that I read this morning. Even though it's not really Halloween themed, it does tie into, you know, this topic a tiny bit. and something that's really happening right here, right now. So there was this article this morning. Where is it? Let's see if I can find it. But it was talking about Tallahassee, Florida, which is my hometown, and how there's this golf course called Capital City Golf Course that was built on enslaved people's burial site. And now they're trying to sell the land. And it talked about how this golf course, these owners were able to have this land for $1 a year. I have to find the article. It's just outrageous. It's outrageous. So let's go. It was on the ABC News. Plan to sell golf course built on slaves' graves sparks outrage. And this is from October the 22nd. So let's pull this up. Let's pull it up. And I'll show y'all on TikTok as well. Let's see what's going on, because you think that things aren't actively happening to the Niji every single day to try to hide who we are and downplay who we are, but we stay clocking that T. This is my hometown, directly related to a place where they try to hide who the Niji are. They still don't think that we know that you calling us a slave means that we are POWs, and that means that this is our land. That's why in this area, heavily heavy police in this area. All right. So it says, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Yes, you can hear me. So plan to sell golf course built on slaves' graves sparks outrage. A proposal to sell city-owned golf course. It says city-owned. How? They stole this land. It's sad. To sell city-owned golf course built on top of burial grounds for enslaved people is sparking public outcry in Tallahassee. Really, really sad. Let's play the video. Hold on. Let's skip the ad. Boom. Hold on.
Here are some of the top headlines we're watching at ABC News Live at this hour. Tropical storm Melissa gaining strength in the Caribbean. The Dominican Republic, Haiti, and parts of Jamaica are bracing for life-threatening and catastrophic flooding. The storm is expected to become a hurricane in a matter of hours and unleash days of torrential rains. Nations Summit. Trump will then out a winner. The jackpot Tuesday night's drawing. You're stream live news, and if you're hello, I'm Andrew. Life-threatening and is headed to Asia, Japan, India, Australia.
Oh my gosh, no audio. Oh my god, I hate when that happens. I don't know how long the audio been out now. Maybe it was out since minutes 5675. Telling me that it was no sound. I did run out of time. Telling me that it was no sound. I did run out of time today. But we'll talk about this again tomorrow. My phone died on TikTok, so if you was watching on TikTok, sorry about that. I gotta do better with charging the phone and multi-streaming. Thank you for following, chatting today. This is Dr. Cheapest Sunflower, and I will be back for another video tomorrow at 8 a.m. Yeah. Holla, guys. I'm on day like 31, 32 of the consistency project, so woohoo. Let's keep rocking. Let's keep knocking. And I'm out of here.